Instant karma's gonna get you. Gonna snap you right in the face. You better get yourself together. You're in the human race.
Hello and welcome to this Friday's edition of a movie review.
We're together
I need to come up with
because
something better than that introduction,
the
John.
side ring light is done.
Yeah, this is thrown me. We're not in our usual positions, John. But usual Friday night,
Look at
we're
Yul
here.
Brenner here.
It's great.
I look like Yul Brenner.
John, I don't look as pale either, so
I
I'm
look
happy.
like Yul Brenner in the Ten Commandments. I look like Ramesses.
I look white rather than pale blue for a change, so I'm happy.
Yeah. Stina, I've got a good tan.
Yeah.
I've got
John,
a good
you're
tan.
out and about. Not like me. I'm an office worker. I'm a pen pusher. You're out and about, grafting.
Out and about.
Your ass off, as they say.
Grafting my ass.
And we're going to graft our asses off for the next half hour or 40 minutes or so, John. Could be longer. Who knows? We're talking about Pudhu, Pettai. I hope I've said that right, John.
That's how I'd say it.
IMDb have split the two words up. YouTube don't. So if I said it
and when I searched the movie up for the logos and wallpaper, they didn't split it up either. So
John, this is
I didn't split it up.
No, it looks good. 2006. This is from. This is the oldest film we've done so far in our Indian reviews, and we're following and we're continuing our Dinush film treasures from you guys who've recommended this film to us. So thanks very much for this. And
a super hit, Stephen. It says when I researched it.
Yeah, we'll get into that. 2 hours and 48 minutes, John. This running time. You said it didn't feel like that. It did for me at times, but I'll explain myself when we're getting into this review.
Yeah, Stephen, I watched it on my iPad, which is slightly blasphemous. Last night, circa about 1:30. 1 o'clock. Watched the first 2 hours. Flew by for me. I don't know if it's just the way I was consuming it, just chilling. I've got my AirPods digging into the side of my leg. Do ignore me as I try to get
Kumar, John, is the main guy in this film, played by Dinush.
Kumar, yes.
And that opening scene in the
Ruth.
prison. Hi, Ruth. It kind of starts off very quiet. You mentioned it, John. It was such a still moment.
You could hear the electricity buzzing in the building. And he says it's too quiet here, I can't stand it anymore. Yeah. He's speaking to himself. Stephen, they never explain until the end where it is he's residing. And at one point I thought it was an insane asylum. But he'd lost the plot.
Yep, I thought that.
Because when he speaks, he's also narrating everything. Yep. And I've got a theory, by the way, because there was a point where I thought, and I actually says to you today, that structurally the way the movie was introducing characters and stuff like that had some issues with it. It felt a little bit undercooked at times. Neva, I'm going to check his name here and make sure I'm saying this right. Nitish Veera, who sadly passed away recently, and I couldn't believe it when someone said in the comments, because he's young, 45 he was. They don't say his name until 2 hours into the movie. They call him Manny in the court scene.
They
don't really introduce it, but I've got a theory for that, Stephen, and I'll say why I think that may be the case.
I'm very interested to hear that, John, because I did pick up on that as well, and I thought it was a very strange choice to reveal his name that far into the movie. John, another thing that I did say, and I did watch this film maybe a couple of days before you, Tuesday I watched it, I felt that this film was tried to cram too much into just under 3 hours. And
absolutely,
some might say 3 hours is enough to tell a story. Not this
story.
This story is a big story. It's about the progression of this Koki Kumar, his sort of rise from
and then fall
from the tragedy
and then rise again
to exactly, John. There's a journey for this character, and I just felt that this may have worked a bit better over 2 films.
Three.
Horses for courses, though, John. A lot of people like it the way it is.
Yeah, Stephen, for me it was like The Godfather. It was like The Godfather. Koki Kumar was Michael Corleone. Also, there wasn't really a Vito Corleone in there. Well, there was. It was Anbu. He was a sort of mentor in chief. But for me, this story would have benefited more from being 2-3 movies. Telling the rise of the Koki Kumar character in the first movie, the sort of vacuum of power, fighting against him, the political stuff happening, the influences, him having to bow to these political figures, chief ministers in Tamil Nadu, I presume it is, and how that impacts his, I don't know what you'd call it, authority. Kind of telling the fall of him in the second movie. Then at the end, this rise, because Stephen, the end felt really rushed for me.
Yeah.
But we'll get into that.
John, there was moments throughout the film that were rushed to me though.
Yeah.
So
we'll get into that.
By the end, I kind of get used to it. I just accepted it for what it was. John, I did mention, I think it's very important to say, we're kind of giving off negative vibes very early on here.
I'm going to go for this scene, Stephen.
Film, and it's got a good story as well. A very interesting story is in there. We're talking about little minor things. We're talking about the editing, little things like that just make that difference in the flow of the film and the flow of the story as well. And sometimes it just didn't work. But again, that's a nitpicking away. Let's talk
Stephen,
about this.
as I says, I thought it was a very ambitious story. A Godfather, try to do that in one movie. I read somewhere that when I searched up, I read there was a connection to Danush with someone that was involved in the process of making this movie. I may be completely wrong. Something about younger brother Danush. I don't know if it was something completely different, completely unconnected.
Okay.
I seen something like that. I don't know if that's actually true. But yeah, Stephen, it was very ambitious, and it's hard to cram that into a 3-hour movie coherently. Make all of the characters pop, and then finish it off nicely. For me, it could have been a 2-hour movie, or a two-part movie, I should say. It's almost like the opposite to the Western sort of stuff, where Peter Jackson will do a trilogy of movies out of one kid's book, albeit a very thick book. But yeah, there you go. The director is Danush's brother, who directed about 10 movies so far, with a majority starring Danush.
Yeah, okay.
So it's his older brother who directed the movie. He cast his younger brother as the lead role. Oh, thank God they did, because Danush is definitely the standout performer on this. There's no doubt about it.
We've got that out of the way. Standout performances.
We'll get into it. There is a couple other ones in there. Stephen, this is the rating system. I've updated it.
Oh, here we go.
Because I was putting double words in, and it wasn't very nice. It was a mess. This is the new rating system. F is terrible.
The PEGAT system, we'll call it.
The PEGAT system, yes. Terrible. Terrible movie. The Fanatic, John Travolta. Hopefully you never have to witness a terrible movie. I try to avoid those. D- through plus, varying degrees of average. D- is below average. D, middling average. D plus, above average. Degrees of average. C is minus through plus. It's varying degrees of good. A lot of my favourite movies will be in here, man, actually. A lot of MCU movies will slide into the upper part of this scale. B- through plus, it's excellence. Solid movies. At the top end of this scale, my all-time favourite movie, Cool Hand Luke, will slide in there. At the bottom end of this scale, try to think of an example here off the top of my head. Some solid movies will go in here. Most movies will go in here. A is reserved for pure perfection. The greatest movies ever crafted in humankind. Shawshank Redemption, Apocalypse Now, Godfather.
Now. That's one of my answers for the questions for Sunday, by the way. Stay tuned for that.
Well, A is perfection, Stephen. Not many movies will go in there. It's perfection. So that's our rating system. That's kind of how we tackle rating a movie. A lot of people say to us to not rate movies because we may offend people, but as I've said time and again, it's our opinion. It doesn't change your opinion of a movie. If you think it's absolutely incredible, it's absolutely crap, and we think something different, you still get your opinion. This is our opinion. This is your choice. But Stephen, final thoughts on this movie, overall thoughts, before we get into the rating. Stephen, I'm going to have to say I went in with no prior knowledge of what this movie was about. As you know, I do like gangster movies quite a bit more than you. I love the likes of Godfather, Goodfellas, Casino, is that a gangster movie? Scarface, things like that. I'm into my gangster films. Breaking Bad's kind of gangster, Untouchables. I'm a big fan of that genre. So I wasn't really aware that that's what it was getting into it, but having watched it, I'm going to use a get out here just because of this whole perspective thing. I'm covering up some of the faults in this movie because I've kind of picked this perspective thing out. I had some faults with the editing, the structure, the way characters were introduced, but I'm going to let them off of it just purely because he's the narrator and he's an unreliable narrator. So I'm covering up for some of the faults, and that's why I'm going to give this rating of this movie maybe a little bit higher than what I was going to give initially. Still in the same range, but a little bit higher. Stephen, I enjoyed the movie, man, in the main. John, there was faults with it. I did enjoy Danush again. He's this big sort of charismatic presence, and he really does cover up for some of the issues.
I think so.
Just his presence on the screen, you're drawn to this guy. And there may be some faults in the movie, but if he's at the centre of it, then you're focusing on him. You can kind of forgive some of the issues you've got with the movie, but John, it's not the perfect movie. That's what I'm going to say.
It's not the perfect movie. I did say to you prior to you watching it, I said it's got a good story behind it, and Danush is a great actor in this film. His character is fleshed out to a point. I felt that the movie could have been maybe stretched over 2 movies. I think it might have worked better for the pacing of it. The editing as well. I think you can excuse the editing because The director has obviously been given a one-picture film to tell a large story. He's got to condense a lot, which means the editing's not going to be at the top of his priorities. He's going to try and have to cram in as much as he can, which has a kind of negative effect on the flow of the film.
Yeah.
I felt that, John. Jagam Thandaram, for me, didn't have that issue. The problem that had was the story. It was the reverse of what we experienced in this film, and I rated that a D. Then there was good reason for that, because I couldn't connect with the character. In this film, I did connect with the character, John, because it was a better fleshed out character for me. I felt the Koki Kumar character at times angered me, at times I felt sympathetic towards him. That's down to good writing, you know, and a good story and the execution of his actions. For me, I've got my rating. I'll wait till you're ready though, John.
Yeah, it's just, I was just reading Ruth's last comment there. She says it was his first action movie.
Yeah.
He'd done mostly
I'm quite
teen,
surprised at that.
romantic movies,
Yeah.
so it was almost a coming of age moment for him as well.
Yeah.
Steve, what are you rating this movie, man? I'll do mine after you.
Yeah, John, mine's is a C-.
Oh, I've screwed it. Shit. I'm in the same range, Stephen.
Yeah.
But I think I rated Jagam Thandaram a C-.
Yeah.
And I think this is ultimately a better movie, so I'm giving it a C+.
Yeah.
I've screwed that. What's going on there?
That's fair enough, John. Yeah, well.
C+. I think it's a good movie, man.
Yeah.
There's issues that stop me giving it a B. It's not a brilliant movie. I think I call
John,
B.
I don't know if it's right me doing this, but sometimes when I'm rating these movies, I do consider the rewatchability of it as well. I really shouldn't, because you're rating it on its first viewing, its only viewing. But I don't think I'll go back to this one. I've seen it. I think at times it's probably, this sounds strange, it seems like a very long film, just under 3 hours, but then I'm saying it should have been made into 2 parts. But that's down to pacing, you know. And it just,
Stephen, it would have been much better if it was 2 parts. I think if they'd left it on a cliffhanger, he's reached the top, and then they go off and finish the story in a second part, and it was maybe a 2 or 15, 2.5, 2.5 hour movies, really fleshing the character out, doing it justice. This may have sneaked into a higher range. It's just, they rushed it. There was elements rushed. They were trying to do too much in this 3 hour setting. The characters didn't pop like they should have. Danush was rushing about doing things that he shouldn't have been doing in this movie. It should have been half this story. And ultimately, that's what holds it back. I've let it off with a lot of things because I'm doing the whole perspective thing. He's the narrator. He's covering up for a lot of things. It's his memory. It's him telling the story. Ultimately, it probably isn't. There's probably some certain issues with the editing and stuff like that. But I can forgive it. I love my gangster movies, man. And this was a pretty decent gangster movie for me. A little bit bloated. There's editing issues, rushed. But ultimately, still a decent gangster movie for me. But wait, Stephen, I don't know if you've got anything else to say. It is knocking on 20 to 1 in the morning here. We better get cracked here. Yeah. Cracking. That's going to round the review up, man. I can't even speak. The cocktail's kicking in. I've got to do leg weights. Wow.
And we're back on Sunday.
We're back on Sunday, yes. Look, I'm looking forward to it. Yes, we'll speak about that before we go. We are doing a Q&A on Sunday. I don't have the actual graphic in front of me. Needless to say, Ruth, who's in the comment section, is going to be making a guest appearance. The first guest appearance we've had on this channel. Yeah. Incidentally, it'll not be the last. We are going to foray into guest appearances from now on. But yeah, it's just a general chit-chat thing, asking questions. If you feel compelled to share anything, you want to ask us anything, we'll do our best to answer it. That's what a Q&A is. I've kind of just explained a Q&A, question and answer. But we'll be there on Sunday. I think it's 8:30 Indian time, 3:30 UK time, 10:30, 7:30 in the morning US time. We will be there. We'll be doing Q&As. Ruth will hopefully be with us.
It's Melbourne for
yes, it's Melbourne
for Ruth,
time. So, I don't know what time that is, man. Half 12, 1:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Hopefully you're not comatose and you can actually speak. But yeah, look, we'll be doing that on Sunday. We'll be back. That's going to round up the review of Pettai. Can't see it. What was your thoughts on this movie? What was your rating of this movie? Do you think we've rated this unjustly? Do you think it's just about right? It's a bit high. You can comment below if you've got your thoughts on it. Thoughts on Danush's first stint into action. General thoughts in the movie or review. You can share your thoughts down below in the comment section. You can also like the video if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel on YouTube. Hit the follow button over on Twitch if you want to see more content like this in the future. And you will get it, guys. But until then, me and Stephen are done. We'll be back on Sunday. Bye-bye. Yes, Ruth says it's a great review. Thank you, Ruth. Spot on grading. Have a good night over there. We will do. I'll be doing my weights and then I'll be playing Dead by Daylight. Bye, Ruth. I'm obsessed with Dead by Daylight. Great game. Bye.